So good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Priyanshu, and I will be your host for today's session. Welcome back to the most awaited session on the Equinox Roundtable conferences. This week's topic will revolve around the sudden surge in the popularity of SaaS platforms. Today, with our esteemed panel present here, we would like to ponder upon the preferences of the new as well as veteran software engineers to SaaS over the dedicated systems. So let us begin the session by the introduction of our acclaimed panel, who were kind enough to join us today and share their valuable experience with the future generation of engineers, thinkers, and entrepreneurs. Today we have with us Mr. Rajesh, who is the founder and CEO of Voiz, Mr. Prabhat, who is the founder of Savo Labs, and Nitesh, sir, who is the founder begin the session. So before we jump into the world of SaaS, and I would like to ask you some questions of your personal experiences, like not just with SaaS, but just as the entrepreneurial spirit that you all have. So, uh, what has been the most learning experience in your journey? Like, what is that one thing that you would like to share with all of us so that we can learn from your experiences and your mistakes? So, let's start with Nideshwar and then we go down from there.
Sure. Awesome. By the way, Priyanshu, thank you so much for having us here. I really appreciate the work that you guys are doing. And kudos to all the engineers who have joined us today and who are listening in. You guys are on the right track already. Like, I've been thinking about the right things and on the right track. So kudos to everyone for organizing this. About my experience, so, I had a lot of what do you call it, the peaks and troughs in my career. The the worst one was, with my previous company, we had just 2 months of money back, 2 months of runway left in the bank account, right? At that point in time, I was speaking to this person called Sid Savaranji from GitLab, who's the founder of GitLab, and he gave me a very amazing piece of gyan or advice that these things come and go, right? Please do not associate yourself to your company. Your company and you are different. The only thing that matters is just you being a profession and you doing your work, right? You cannot control the outcome. The only thing that you can control is your work, right? And that was a boiler moment for me. Like, I'm not my startup, right? I'm me, and I'm working on my startup, right? It is different. So this learning has been very helpful. I'm less stressful now. Like, I don't worry too much about things, like what what do people think, and what do people think about the product and stuff. It gave me a lot of clarity. So that was actually one of the most amazing thing that I learned while building startup.
That is very interesting thing you said. That reminded me of Steve Jobs when he had to leave Apple and go start Pixar, and he made Pixar successful as well. So
Yeah.
not attaching our identity to a
Yeah.
particular company. That is a great
Yeah.
thing, sir. So Prabhat, so you?
Uh, you know, Unlike Nitesh, I haven't had a lot of. I haven't spent a lot of time in this overall journey to have many anecdotes, but one that I would like to refer to would be the point in time where I just started building Savo, and back then the COVID had just hit, and we all didn't know how the fundraise scenario would be like, and fundraise prior to COVID was very different to fundraise post COVID. And it took me 1.5, 2 months to just figure out how the overall structure of my conversation is going to be. And I was almost on the verge of dropping this. And 4 days later, I had my first term sheet. And what I derived from that overall situation is that, you know, it's okay to not push yourself into a timeline, and it's okay to not add numbers to situations. It's all about the end goal that we want to achieve, and we all have enough time to go through that path. Today it's been 16 months post that situation, and we're doing really good. So I uh, I guess it's all about being on the path and ensuring that we don't pressurize ourselves because nobody else is. So
Right, sir. That's what someone once told me, that emotional intelligence is the most central part of entrepreneurship, not just your mathematical skills or your building skills. Even the emotional intelligence, as you rightly said, would be a great part. So, Rajesh, sir, would you like to share some of your experiences and learnings with us?
Rajesh
So
is
you're
muted.
unmuted.
Yeah.
Thank you, Priyanshu. It's great to be among one of the finest entrepreneurs here. Prabhat, I know you very well. Great admiration. Nitesh, getting to know you here. If since you asked me this great question. I always go to that great movie Interstellar, and the protagonist in the end of that movie, he says that between the fourth dimension being gravity and the fifth dimension being love, I always say that between these two dimensions is creativity, and I think creativity is what makes us humans, and I think creativity, is what we need to pursue, and restlessly and relentlessly. I think if we get that in place, most of the things will follow. And I think entrepreneurship is creativity with a kind of guts, in the sense like how Nitesh said, you don't know the outcome, you don't put in yourself as a timeline, but you're there and you're trying to solve a problem. And because you're creative, it's not only designing, but creativity can be across the board, right? I value creativity the most, and I think that if you pursue creativity with exploration, you will have a great journey in whichever walk of your life you would be. Instantly, you might be an entrepreneur.
Right. So the sheer abstractness of creativity is what makes all the entrepreneurs unique, isn't it? It's- So now, coming back to the main topic of today's roundtable, that the increasing popularity of SaaS among the programming professionals, the computing professionals. So, for the viewers who are not from computing background, I'll just let them know what the general overview of what SaaS is. So, basically, SaaS is the short form for software as a service. It is basically a licensing model in which services of a software are available on subscription basis models. It's usually hosted centrally, and some of you might know it as on-demand software as well. So some of the most famous examples would be the Adobe Suite that we all love and use, Grammarly that is helping us solve our English issues, and then Netflix also in a way is a SaaS, like it's letting you watch licensed content as a subscription service, right? So that in turn is also a SaaS. So now we'll come back to our esteemed panel, and we'd like to ask your opinions on the increasing popularity of SaaS and what do you think are some of the key factors behind it. Nitesh sir.
Sure. So I think money, right? I mean, globally, globally, I mean, we are seeing. I mean, India has been like building SaaS. If you look at like TCS and FOSSASIA, like, I mean, these people were actually building software, right? And they were charging differently. The model was different, but it's essentially it was all about exporting software, right? We have been doing this for a long time. It's just that I mean, like, now it is more decentralized, where those small companies are coming in and they are building SaaS. So there are actually a couple of things which I believe made SaaS very popular. One is, I mean, you don't have to have a huge team to build a SaaS company, right? I mean, you need a very small team. And in fact, like, I mean, I've seen a lot of engineers, like, I mean, they have built a SaaS company like by themselves, like just one person company. They wrote a code which was helpful for a company to perform a particular operation, or to achieve some sort of cost optimization that help the business achieve certain business goals, and they charge for their business goals, right? And it has become relatively very easy to deploy such products which act as a SaaS, and to monetize them as well. Right. This is one thing. Second thing is, I mean, you might have heard of the term called product-led growth businesses. So essentially, PLG businesses. Now it is actually now they are the hot terms, and they are increasingly popular in India, because you're seeing like very like rising success of startups like Browser Stack or Freshworks. And whenever you see a success story coming up, right, it inspires like thousands of entrepreneurs over the course of like years, and they tend to like build those businesses as well. Right. Similarly, like we are seeing a bunch of these PLG business coming in, where you can actually sell to companies all over the world, earn in dollars, and essentially when you're earning in dollars, you are and that is one of the best way to actually earn in dollars, right? By building a SaaS company, because the margins are just like ridiculously amazing. Like, I mean, 80-90% margins a lot of times. So essentially, I mean, if you're selling something for $100, you'll be keeping $90 in your pocket. Right? And that is very fascinating, and the economies of scale for that is just like amazing, right? I mean, you can easily build like a $100 to $200 million company just by building a good SaaS solution, right? And that is what I believe that is impacting a lot of growth in terms of SaaS companies, right? And if you look at the charts as well, I mean, the number of SaaS companies in India, they have 5x, so they have grown 5 times over the course of last 4 years, like 5 times, right? Compared to any other startup, right? So we're seeing the very high growth in SaaS company as well, just because I mean it is very easy to start a SaaS company now.
I think just because like easy, I think it's democratizing also a little bit. You know,
Yeah,
technology
it's
before only
decentralized.
Adobe was making SaaS, and now
Yeah, yeah,
everyone
yeah,
is there.
yeah.
So, Prabhat sir. So you're on mute again, sir.
Overall, this whole conversation seems very obvious obvious because of the economics of scale that Nitesh already talked about. But I would like to touch the adoption piece of it. The reason why adoption in itself has scaled to this rate because of the kind of architecture that SaaS follows is because of the fact that it to start with, it eliminates upfront cost, right? So I remember back when I was in 11th, 12th grade when I used to freelance, we used to work on on-prem solutions, and on-prem ERP solutions were really what do you call it, horrible, essentially because of the fact that there was a huge upfront cost, and of course everybody could not afford that. And then comes the 0 to 1 aspect of it, where it used to take a lot of time to deploy it in itself, right? SaaS has made all of that really, it has obviously made it affordable. It has made it scalable, and apart from that, when it comes to the aspect of simplification and access, when you look at Nitesh's product or my product or Rajesh's product in itself, uh, the the uh, the whole idea of a SaaS solution today, vis-a-vis the solutions that used to exist say 20 years back, that we all have transformed. Uh, there's a lot of simplification. We all are able to sell our product because it is simple and easy to deploy and easy to use from the first day, right? It doesn't take us, say, 3 years to deploy and then start from there. I remember having a similar conversation with Rajesh 2, 3 weeks back, where we were talking about how it used to take 8 to 9 years to deploy a single ERP solution, and whereas CRMs and other end-to-end solutions that have replaced that are able to solve the overall piece within a matter of hours or days, or sometimes in a matter of minutes, right? So that's of course their simplification, and of course then comes access, right? uh, if you had to tomorrow buy an ERP solution from Infosys, you had to have a lot of prerequisites in an organization to buy that, right? But when it comes to access as a piece, anybody can come and pick up any SaaS product across the globe built by anyone, right? So that's essentially because uh, again it comes back to the installation aspect of things, and the last piece is of course the fact that uh, when PLG came into existence, the wave that we all are riding right now, the advantage was that you could use the product and then pay for it, right? So we all must have seen a pricing model where there is a free trial or a freemium in itself, where you access a certain piece of the product and then pay for the rest once you're satisfied with this. Unlike any other model apart from SaaS, right? So uh, these three aspects have, of course, simplicity, then of course access and affordability have made it made are the key points because of which SaaS has survived across years and will always survive. Web 2 or Web 3, this kind of architecture will always survive in terms of the model in itself.
Right. So, Sir Rajesh, so what are your opinions on the topic?
So I think Nitesh and Prabhat have nicely captured it. I'll just try to capture in 2, 3 main headings. Number one is that SaaS has definitely democratized. 30, 40 years back, if you wanted to do a company, you had to first in this valley put about $100,000, set up the computer, go get your servers on your car, and then the office space, and then the additional softwares. But today you can do it with $100 with AWS trying to bring everything, not only SaaS, CPaaS, CCaaS, UCaaS. You made all the as a services. They just bring it and bundle and give it to you and unbox it for you. That's one. So the deployability, the affordability, and the engageability for entrepreneurs to start building world-class SaaS products have become easier. The second one is the cost of SaaS engineering in India is truly global in its competitive advantage as opposed to the other countries in the world. And that's where Nitish was saying Infosys and HCL were doing it, but they were doing from a service perspective. But now the economy is allowing great minds to be in this own country and build great products because of this shift. The third thing is that you are having every, like Prabhat was saying, every 10, 15 years, there is a new product of the old version. You have the old wine in the same new sack. And every industry would have a SaaSified version of their offerings as we see across the industry, across the table. The telecom is moving from a spectrum layer to a software layer. Otherwise, they could have been, all the telcos would have been WhatsApp, right? They were just in SMS. And the last thing is, we did a lot of work. We are a SaaS-based marketplace. So we did a lot of data analysis to understand what is the behavior of millennials. And we found that this generation have 4 points. Number one, they don't believe in careers. They believe in jobs, right? They want to be a DJ in the morning and a coders in the evening. The second thing that this millennium really likes to do is they will want to invest in experiences. And the third one is they want to invest not in capital assets. They don't want to buy a house or buy a car because there are anyway Ubers. And the last most interesting thing is they believe that they have inherited the polluted earth, and it's their responsibility. The same thing is happening with companies. Companies are beginning to realize that they don't need to put assets. They want to go the pay as you go asset, and traditional companies and new age companies are switching towards that. These are driving the very categories and characteristics of pay-as-you-go model. Thank you.
So, sir, how much do you think that like the general consumer market of India was affected by the drop in the prices of internet when Jio came into existence? Like suddenly everybody had access to the internet, so suddenly everybody was able to use the. I'm talking about the consumer level aspect of things, not on a company-to-company scale. Nitish, sir.
Nitish, you're on mute.
So yeah, that's a very good question. So I think that's a very good point, by the way, Pianshu. So one thing which you are seeing is which is happening across the globe is consumerization of software, right? Earlier what used to happen was that that IT department would buy software centrally, and employees will have to use that software that has been assigned to them. They didn't have any choice. Now, a team can actually just start using a product. I mean, this happens with Dive as well. I mean, a team will start using Dive by themselves without they getting any permission from anyone. And then like they'll invite other people from other teams, and this will happen by itself. And suddenly you'll see like 210 people from an organization using your product, right? And this is the one of the most phenomenal thing that happened, and that sort of like contributed to just like an insane growth of SaaS solutions. Um, and I believe the biggest reason was this customization. So, let's say if you look at Slack, right, which is one of the most amazing examples for this kind of growth, or Notion. Right, how they grew was, they didn't have to go and sell to any particular IT department. Right? A team will start using that product, and they will and over the course of time, like it will spread across the organization. The organization will have to pay for this, right? This is one aspect of it. But now, we are seeing that a lot of people, individuals as well, they are using software to make their life, to make their work productive. Like people who care about productivity. For example, I use Superhuman, an email client, right? And I pay for that. Right? And I'm not like taking any money from anyone. I'm just like paying for that service by my own pocket, just to make sure that I am productive on emails. Right? And we are seeing that that software helps you be more productive and be more effective by just automating a bunch of stuff that you might be doing, like which you should not be doing, right? And we're seeing a very interesting rise in that in India. For example, like if you look at Khata Book, right, which is a very interesting example of a SaaS solution, right? And they what they did was they essentially, something existed like offline, like Bhai Khata books, right? They just like made a SaaS product for that. And now, like very small merchants, like single shop owners, it is their primary SaaS solution, right? It is a primary software as a service that they're using. Right? Khata Book can charge, let's say, a very small amount later on, and can easily become a $1 billion company, right? So essentially, this is one it's one phenomenon that I'm seeing that is happening. And another phenomenon which we are seeing is the software spend per employee in a company is rising continuously. Right? I was actually reading a report on this, and they mentioned that the software spend has doubled in the last 5 years per employee. So earlier it used to happen that like companies used to spend about around $1,000 per employee on SaaS. Right now they're spending like $5,000 on software, which the company with the employees are using, and that is a very phenomenal shift because I mean the overall enterprises are realizing that deploying software will help them make more money and be more productive and be more effective. And that is why they're leveraging a range of different SaaS solutions across different verticals. Right? So now I mean there are niches all around SaaS. Like I mean, for example, within AWS there are services to actually manage your AWS spend. Right? So it has become like companies are leveraging this kind of format to essentially make more money or be more profitable.
Right. So, very interesting thing that I remembered from a previous roundtable was that a lot of companies abroad, because labor abroad is much expensive than it is in India, right? A software engineer there is going to be like $100,000, $150,000 minimum. So, companies there tend to give people food so that they can not go out and be more productive. So, similarly, spending $4,000 extra, like $4,000 extra on SaaS and making them more productive is not a lot of money for them. But for us, we're earning in dollars, as you said, 90% margins. So that is going to be a good economical model as well, right?
Yeah. That's so true actually. You know, like, I mean, we sell to like a few Indian companies as well, and we see the comparison. You know, like, I mean, it is literally harder to do sales here in India compared to let's say to a European country and to US country because they're used to buying these things. Right here we are not. I mean, the trend is coming in. I mean, what I've seen over the course of like say last 10 years, the propensity to pay has gone like a lot high. You know, like I mean, earlier we used to think about like paying for a single software. Like now, I mean, when you're starting a company, you just like buy Slack and Notion by default, right? So the gears are shifting a little bit, right? But we'll see. I mean, like the next 5 years are going to be very interesting when a lot of these companies they'll realize that okay, like I mean, these software are making us more productive, they are more reliable, right? Than actually deploying a human, right? And we'll see like a lot of companies spending more and more on SaaS.
So Prabhat, so what are you like? Would you like to add on some few things?
Sure. You know, I am a big fan of multiple type of GTM models, and I've been very inquisitive with respect to the kind of go-to markets that multiple products follow. You know, if you look at so essentially there are two types of procurement models in SaaS products in itself. One would be where the whole organization has to adopt a product for it to be used across the organization, right? For example, my product has to be adopted by the whole organization, right? Because it impacts the core offering of their core offering in itself. And then there are products like, for example, Canva, right, where the product can be adopted by multiple people in the organization and not the whole organization. It's not required by the whole organization to adopt it. And while Nitesh was talking about how you know employees are willing to spend for productivity and aspects of you know their own work life and other things, I realized that products which have employee to employee adoption are far easier to go to market than products which require the whole organization to buy. Right, and that's essentially why we see this whole surge of per employee buying costs in itself, because across my organization we must be spending more than $15,000 a month on SaaS across our 83 employees who work here. And when we see the scale here, I realize that most of it would be employee to employee products than the whole organization, whole organization's purchase in itself, right? And I believe that core productivity and core you know organizational structures of how a single employee wants to operate has made SaaS easily adoptable across organizations, and of course that has been directly proportional to the cost of SaaS per employee that has gone up in itself. And yes, when it comes to when it comes to Geo and the whole wave that came in, I believe that only accelerated this whole process, right? Because when it comes to the consumer level adoption of products, Geo accelerated the top line of the kind of consumption you could have per day. Netflix wouldn't have existed if Geo wouldn't have come, right? In India, Netflix adoption wouldn't have been at this scale. I remember we used to have 2 GB, 3 GB a month, right? And then Geo came and made it 2 GB a day. And even today, 2 to 2.5% of the audience uses Wi-Fi, but everybody else still uses their mobile data. And when organizations like Netflix got impacted because of the adoption of internet in itself, that impacted people like us because we were one layer above these kind of organizations. Right? We were selling to consumer businesses, and consumer businesses were their top line went up, and that's essentially why SaaS adoption also got impacted. And yeah, I guess that's all that I have to say.
So do you think that lockdown in itself had any effect on the employee-to-employee, as you said, like it's going from employee to employee rather than a whole organization? So do you think lockdown had any effect on that because people were independently working from home?
I think more than lockdown, internet adoption. Of course, lockdown scaled that aspect, but internet adoption obviously made it more easier for the employee-to-employee kind of GTM. I remember 3-4 years back when I used to run another company, when we were all in one office, AK license khareedte the and everybody used to share that, right? So and now when everybody's at home, that's become difficult, and hence you buy like 100 licenses and you keep and all of that. So I don't remember spending $15,000 a month back then. It used to be my yearly expenditure, I suppose. But yeah, I think internet adoption would be the first reason, and of course lockdown and work from home situation has obviously accelerated that process. Rajesh's product has obviously gained from this whole situation where lockdown has happened and work from home and all of that has occurred. So Rajesh would have more things to say about this.
Please, sir, Rajesh, sir, your opinion.
Thanks, Prabhat. It was unfortunate, but yeah, you have a point there.
That's true for all three of us. I think Rajesh also has obviously gained from the work from home lockdown situation, and yeah.
So Priyanshu, coming to the question that how did internet from companies like Geo has scaled or helped in this entire ecosystem, and SaaS being one of the waves, one of the boats sitting on the top of the wave because of this internet, right? I just want to step back. Every few once in a decade, you have great men who come and change the technology landscape for the country. In the 1980s and 1983 movie, captures it very, very nicely, saying that he had to wait for 8 years or 17 years for a telephone line, right? When she meets Kapil Dev in the theater, in the airport, right? 17 years, because then we were working on a Siemens-based switches, and each switch used to cost us 30,000 rupees. But then there were a few IIT Kharagpurians and IIT Chennai guys who were working in TIFR. Found out we're working on a switch, and then Sam Petroda came under Rajiv Gandhi. They built C-Dot, and these Indians changed and built C-Dot, where each line used to cost 5,000 rupees. That was in 1990s. That's why you used to get in 6 months a telephone line, and DOT had 5 times more spend. That was a big way for India. That changed the GDP for India. The same thing happened in the internet when Jio came and made sure internet is affordable, and the saying that you rather want to have internet than electricity, right? So that was another change. And in us personally, as a company, we are in the space of gray collar entry level work jobs, and it's a gig. We have about 100,000 women who are tier 2, tier 3, and for them, having an accessible internet can mean that money they earn will take care of their father's father's medical bills because they're 30 plus women, right? So for them, it is not only entertainment, but also it is actually livelihood, and that is where the impact we are seeing, that when something touches your livelihood, then it becomes very, very important. And still 60-70% of the country is in rural areas, and this democratization, if you will, of the internet are actually empowering one segment of workforce that was blind to this economy, to come out and to start contributing to the GDP of the country. And companies like us and many companies like this, Upwork, freelancers, all these companies are gaining that, because India is a big supply entity in this space. So yes, and we hope the next set of such technologies are coming from India, from Indian entrepreneurs and from engineers like you guys, who can change this ecosystem and impact another generation to come.
Thank you so much, sir. So another question that I would have is, do you think that because SaaS products are centrally hosted, not locally, that has also made your business model more, like penetrate deeper into the markets? Because pehle third world countries used to just have, like Adobe used to not have Creative Cloud, right? They used to have the Photoshop guy, and everybody used to printing pirated CDs. Everybody is not getting the original one because it was too expensive. But nowadays, because it's centrally hosted, nobody is able to pirate a lot of software. Do you think that made a lot of difference on your business model? It is, sir.
Yeah, for us, I mean, definitely. I mean, cloud-based solutions are change the world. I mean, it is just so easy to deploy your software now. Like just sitting here, and I mean, so Dive is used in 172 countries. Okay, like I mean, literally all over the world. So that wouldn't have been possible if we had to like go and sell CDs to organization to use the product. Like, so I think just this the fact that I mean you can deploy a software in cloud that can be accessed from anywhere in the world gives you insane amount of economies of scale, right? And gives you like just added benefits compared to like I mean very old companies who had to like, go and deploy who had to like travel to a physical location to deploy a software, right? And to be honest, like, I haven't seen that world where you had to like go and like when I was a kid, I had to like buy a CD to use for the game or for the software. Like now, all the games are on cloud as well. I mean, you can just like download the game and you can use them right away, right? So it has literally changed the landscape, in my opinion, and it has made life easy. It has made it like very easy to build a software and to use the software and to collaborate on that software as well.
Answer.
Obviously, while Nitesh has covered every aspect, I would like to cover monetization, right? So, cloud has obviously made it easier for us to monetize the overall thing, and obviously our margins have increased because of cloud in itself. Uh, uh, you know, uh, uh, when it came to on-prem solutions or installable solutions, license solutions, a lot of need for customization had arisen. Right? So now we are all building one solution fits all kind of products. So obviously our margins have gone up while we are able to charge every single customer without any loophole, right? While you covered aspects like piracy, there were many other problems, right? I remember Photoshop licensing का जो you had to renew the whole thing, right?
Update, yeah.
हाँ वो तो यार
Updates, yeah. You have to buy a new CD, man, to get to update a software. Like, what the hell?
we used to walk through the whole thing, right? I don't remember. I remember me paying ever for Photoshop while I used it for years, right? So, but I'm sure that if you look at Canva, which became a millennial replacement of Photoshop in itself, the only reason it could monetize to this scale, 1 billion ARR for Photoshop to achieve that would have taken them 5 more years, right? And ARR का तो concept ही नहीं था. I don't think recurring revenue was even a thing for Photoshop, right? And obviously it reduced a lot of things that were going wrong for us, right? For example, the whole recurring aspect of cloud products have made it easier for us to reduce churn. I am sure Photoshop's retention across users must be minus 10%. right? But Canva losing customers would be -10% at this point. So that whole shift has obviously been possible because of the fact that we are able to build multi-tenant products on cloud and it's centrally hosted. Uh, that is the definition of SaaS as a basis in itself, right? So the fact that we are able to have multi-tenant systems are the reason why SaaS exists as a model. Otherwise, recurring revenue would have never been a piece. So, yeah.
Rajesh, yeah. What would you like to say about
Yeah,
this?
I think the fundamental things of SaaS is way back as well. We all were having cloud experiences when we were in email, right? And email is a 20-year-old technology done by one of my classmates for Hotmail, and then email was on cloud, and then all the assets of your company started moving into it, and then consumerization, like Nitesh put it, happened, where your food also is there now on the cloud, literally speaking. So this is becoming a part of our lives, and going forward, the internet, which is powering that, the computing devices that are powering that, different form and shape, the cloud can become a dream. And then going forward, collaborating, building multi-tenant, making an integrated system, building communities around it, and also the new technologies, the Web3, the blockchain. These are the ones that are going to become conversational topics, and how letters writing has become a joke. I think SaaS will become, a passe, and your generation will start exploring conversations and building architectures that is more democratic and more equitable for employee and founders in terms of asset generation. The SaaS generation had a different set of founders, but the Web3 and the blockchain kind of founders have a different kind of value creation and wealth distribution mechanisms. So yes, SaaS is in that bridge, and we are in that bridge of transition as well.
So, sir, how would you how is the Indian entrepreneurship ecosystem developing? Like, as you clearly have a lot of experiences, so let's start with you. So, how do you think over the last decades the Indian entrepreneurial ecosystem is developing? Because we're seeing a lot of new unicorns coming up from our country. Like every third, fourth day in the newspaper, there's news of some of the other new unicorn being there. So, what do you think has changed recently that we are able to produce such quality SaaS team companies and get to such high valuations? Or do you think it's just a bubble? Rajesh, sir, you go again.
Oh, sorry. So I always am a little bit selfish to Bangalore because Bangalore was a little lucky, right? In hockey, you have to be January born to be really good in ice hockey. Similarly, I think Bangalore had all the ecosystems available. The temperature was cool. Then you had ISE, you had the defense, you had all these environment, and therefore therefore all the great companies could have come here. So in order for the ingredients for the startup economy to start up, of course, is the engineering mind and engineering solving mechanism, creativity, like I mentioned before, risk-taking ability, but the environment itself is there. There are very few Indian problems are very unique, and it could be. I like this statement that in 2010, between May, when GPS became available to mobile, everybody thought that our Ola was actually a copy of the Uber. Actually, no, the founders were thinking parallelly, right? It was two parallel founders who were thinking creatively individually, and they incidentally came out to the same launch. So I think as Indians, our IP, the intellectual property filings have dramatically increased. Of course, Israel is the highest from its creativity or IP filing, from population to the GDP and the number of IP cores, but India also is going up. So I think that is one. Second is the generation that we are coming in. Our previous generation had a lot of baggages, if you will. The economy was not so good, but now we don't have. Our parents have made enough or more that we don't have to get in the baggage. I think that also gives a great freedom for entrepreneurs, for budding entrepreneurs and current entrepreneurs. And the third aspect is that I think we adopted technology much faster. US, it had to move from telecom from analog to digital. It took them 40 years. For us to move to telecom, we went directly to digital. So the adoption rate is much higher in our ecosystem. And I think that is why these are the aspects that are contributing for Indian startups, unicorn startups. But there are other macro environments that are fueling this in the last 1 year, 2 years. But as a whole, we are seeing that entrepreneurship now is like the Indian great dream. Before, the only dream was to leave the country and go to the United States and have a job. But now you have the Indian great dream. Stay here. You can raise money. You can, with $100, set up a company. I think those are the entities, and those are the tenets on which the startups in India are building, and it's sustaining. You're seeing them going to IPOs and bringing more customers. So I think those are the fundamental blocks that are getting shaped, and it's almost 20 years that it's happening, and the next generation is much more flexible to take on bigger challenges.
So, sir, another question that I'd like to ask, perhaps I'd like to ask that to you. So, you said that just because work from home started, a lot of people started buying individual licenses because they couldn't share it like they would do in a company setting. So now, when people are starting going back to campuses like HCL and some companies are calling them back to campuses, do you think that's going to affect your business model monetarily?
HCL कैसा example है यार मतलब but coming back to it, of course, back to campuses is still a 1% 2% thing, and I don't think, of course, my business doesn't rely on employee to employee adoption, but for products, when it comes to employee to employee adoption, now that already an adoption layer has occurred, for it to go back to the same inconvenient model, it's not possible. It's going to be this way for a while now, and of course, companies will figure out their own models of adoption. When it comes to the aspect of how it would affect if employees go back to the offices, I obviously think the buying cycle will speed up. I believe that if now that they have already tasted the blood of having individual licenses, now when they go back, the cycle of buying will only speed up because of their closer collaboration and all of these things. But obviously, I think that the fact that these work from home tools and all of these things that have come out already, the reason to take them back to office will also diminish. I don't think office as a concept exists anymore. यार वैसे भी 2.5 लाख तो चला ही जाता है यार एक ऑफिस लेने में. And if you rather take Nitesh's SaaS product, it will cost lesser. So I'm sure it makes sense to stay away from office. But yeah, I think the procurement cycle will speed up. What do you think, Nitesh? Do you think this procurement cycle will speed up?
Yeah, I mean, so it is. I mean, it is already speed up. Like, I mean, it is very easy to buy with just like by using a credit card now. I think every company has that kind of like buying process more or less. Like the company that we have spoken to more or less.
अभी तो budgeting cycles भी change हो गए हैं. Like earlier, like you were saying, there was a central procurement house which used to buy for the whole thing. Now every micro team has their own budget to buy and review tools. For that to go back and reduce on that, it's going to be difficult.
Yeah, and what I mean, so essentially what we are seeing is respect to remote work and going back to office. It's a very good point you brought up. So there are two trends which are seen happening over the world. Right? One is like people are still hiring remote workers. Right? If you look at all the jobs posted, let's say if you look at HackerRank, right? On HackerRank, which is one of the best place to post tech jobs, 80% of the jobs are still remote. 80%. And companies have hired so many people all over the country, all over the world, that it is becoming increasingly difficult to actually bring them back to a central location.
Exactly.
And second is that how hybrid is going to stay. Like, I mean, people have realized that commute waste time, right? And they like to be productive. So hybrid, I think like people will move. Some companies will move to a hybrid model where employees will go to office like 1 or 2 days a week. Right? And primary reason for that would be like socializing. Right? So like a bunch of my friends like who are building tech companies, right? I mean, it's very, very interesting to see like how they have set up their offices. it's like a giant party room, right? I mean, like with beer on tap, like the entire open offices with round tables. So essentially, it's a place to socialize, right? And to do work as well, right? And for example, if people bought a ranch and they made that as their office, right? I mean, if you want to like put over a ranch, you can go to ranch and work there. I mean, which is just like, I mean, so what companies are realizing is essentially work can happen remotely. It does not mean that, I mean, if you're working remotely, you not work essentially. I mean, people know for the fact that work can happen remotely. The only thing that you're trying to solve for is the social connection that you build when you're part of the organization. And some organizations are actually solving that by giving them a space where they can socialize.
Yes, sir. So with that question, we'll end today's conference. So, sir, is there something that you would like to give a message to all the young engineers and prospective entrepreneurs watching this stream right now or the video later in the future? Is there something that you all would like to give them a message, a certain message that you would like to give them?
You want to start? You want to go ahead?
Yes. Prabhat, sir, would you like to start?
Uh, yeah, I guess what I would essentially want to conclude this whole thing with is that I believe that every engineer and every person working here should have a product mindset, and they should all work towards solving a problem, either themselves or while working for an organization and all of that. Like what Rajesh mentioned is that people don't want careers anymore, right? They want jobs to uh, they want jobs that are fun and that are satisfying in the overall process. I believe that everybody who should either start something or should join a larger vision should go there towards go there while understanding that they are going to contribute to the larger problem, and job description shouldn't be a point of decision anymore. And uh, and I believe that I'm not sure how much people would like this opinion, but I believe that everybody should go for remote roles and शुड अपने अब लखनऊ में कॉलेज है तो लखनऊ दिल्ली की जॉब देखने की कोई जरूरत नहीं है. आई थिंक यू शुड look at jobs that are available across the globe. A lot of my friends work for startups in Bulgaria, Romania, Vietnam. It's fun when you work with people from different type of geographies. Essentially because your learning curve goes that fast. I remember when I had joined college and when people would talk about what kind of jobs they need at on the fourth year, they used to be like on-site honi chahiye. Right, everybody wanted on-site roles back then, and I think we have gotten a good opportunity to have an on-site role while we are in comfort of our homes, and everybody should pursue remote roles essentially while you look at a broader vision and problem that the company is solving. And the last aspect would be avoid service companies. Go for core product companies. They will help you learn faster, and try joining younger teams. If you look at Nitish, your team would be what, 40 people?
Yeah, something around that.
Yeah, so a team where, say, let's assume a guy who would have joined Nitish when the team was, say, under 20, or if you look at one of your college students, Vinamra, who was right there, right here, right now, while back, he had joined us when we were under 20, and now we are 80. So Vinamra went through a good growth curve while he looked at the organization expanding, right? While he was an intern. Right. So I think joining younger teams obviously helps you make a better, larger vision, and helps you go really quickly into the overall curve that larger organizations would take 5-10 years to make you go through. That's obviously the only reason why we see people become vice presidents and directors within 6 years, 7 years of their career, while earlier, I remember when my mom got her say a larger position, she took like 30 years to reach there, right? I think that's obviously because when you join younger organizations, your growth curve becomes faster, and then you can survive wherever. So yeah, smaller organizations, remote roles, and join a company which you believe in terms of problem and vision. That's all that I would say.
Thanks. I mean, I can go next. Thank you, Prabhat. I mean, I'll second everything that Prabhat said. I'll just like add a different flavor to it. right? I mean, if any of you had to take like one thing like from this conversation today, it would be like just start. It doesn't, as age doesn't matter. Stripe founders, they were 19 years when they started that company. Okay, like so age does not matter anymore.
Yeah, it
Right?
does.
So if you want to like, if you think about SaaS and if you think about like doing something, so just start something. Okay, go to product hunt, see all the top products for the last 1 month, see what you can build, and build that, and launch on product hunt and grow from there. Okay, just like build. I think it is the fastest way to learn. And if you build something, you learn a lot about like building a company, what goes into like I mean all kind of different things. Like I mean just not just like I mean just tech, like marketing, product, right? And eventually, I mean you'll become high level, right? Your degree will not matter, your percentile will not matter. If you have built a product and you sold it to people, you will people I mean companies would actually would be really willing to actually bring you on board, right? And we really value that ourselves. So in my opinion, if you had to take one thing, right, just start. I mean it won't take a lot of money. I mean it will take like roughly 20 like 10 15,000 rupees. I can actually give you that money if you want to start something, right? But
Definitely.
just start. I mean just whatever you want to do, start, like just start something, right?
Hey,
If you fail, that's it, cool.
I
I
would
mean,
like to interrupt Nitesh here. If Nitesh is putting 15,000 anywhere, I am joining him. So you have another 15 from my side.
yeah. I mean then no
Yeah,
equity. I mean, it's like just you, right? I mean so you can what I mean if you pick one thing, just I mean just start, right? And go ahead and do it, and then you'll learn.
Sounds very interesting. Like interesting. That's very useful. We're still in college. We'll start building some things.
Yeah,
हाँ
why
Let's
not,
put
man?
that idea.
ऑलरेडी
Yeah, exactly.
ऑलरेडी अगर कोई कुछ बना रहा है तो टैग भेज दो, मेरा ईमेल आईडी प्रियांशु दे देगा.
Yeah.
Seek, sir. That is sir. What would you like to tell
I
us?
think I think if we all look back when we were doing, how did 1 year in LKG, UKG first time matter to us? It really doesn't matter. You guys are in your educational forefront, your frontal, you're just thinking about what next, what next, what next. Actually, it really doesn't matter. You can take a break, you can take a year break, experiment with what makes the skill and will, right? So if you have an equation of your skill, will, and wish, that's a great not quadratic, it's a three quadratic. It's three equations, right? Because you have your skill, you have your wish, and you have your will. But then if you have discovered that, pursue that. It's better to be working for a hobby than working for just for the sake of you have a timeline, right? Somebody said that don't work on a timeline and don't plan your career for a timeline. Stuffs will happen, things will happen. If you're working, if you're enjoying, things will unfold. 50-60% of our time of what we do, again, like what Pradhat and Ritish said, is not in your control. But right, a perseverance, these are the role cam models. So my thing is that, first of all, know what is your skill, will, and wish. Are they aligned together? And primary is your skill, because what your skill is, if you can align everything around it, nothing like it. Secondary, wait upon it, weigh upon it, take your time out, experiment on it. It will show off. Some of the greatest Hollywood actors showed up only when they're 45 years, 50 years, right? So do not stress much. I had a Israeli partner who said to me, Rajesh, the first million is the most difficult to get. The rest is easy, right? So please try to get that equation right: skill, will, and wish, and let it be predominant on your skill. Discover what is your skill, and hopefully that should make you happy.
Thank you all,
Awesome.
sir. I think now we'll stop streaming. So thank you all for coming. So we are very
Thank
grateful
you.
that you all came with us, shared all your experiences and all your. We'll try to learn from what you told us so we can grow faster. So thank you all for your time, sir.
Thank you, Priyanshu, for having us.
Okay.
Really enjoy the conversation, Prabhat and Rajesh as well. Um, thank you for your time.
Thanks, guys. Thank
Thanks,
you. Thank
thanks,
Bye.
you.
Ritesh. Thanks, Prabhat. Thanks, Ritesh. Let's
Bye.
Bye bye.
bye.
So,